teams drop this series, effectively playoffs is over for them. There are worries for us going in here to this game for RNG, particularly with Tenuan and LWX both struggling in their own rights, and they're probably up against the best players on the other side of UCal and 1XM. Both teams at 2 and 7, you can see already a couple of mid lane and bot lane bans thrown aside by RNG. Other side, it's more of the playmaking champions for Ming and Wei, who have been two of the more strong members for RNG.
So obviously I am a very unbiased caster in this particular series. 1XN is going to run over all these fools. He's the greatest AD carry player to ever touch the Rift, and everyone else is just waiting on his magnificence to show, right? That's the way this is. It's going to be a TT 2-0, and I'll hear no other kind of debate about it.
That's how you're going to go with this, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, right. So, first pick. What's left through? We have Smolder, we have Senna, both of them very powerful. Varus, Lucian, and Kalista are gone, so that's three of our most lane-dominant carries already out of the window. RNG, what are they going to do? Put Tenuan onto the Karma. It is 14.4. Obviously, Karma was nerfed on 14.3, since it's not the super duper uber powerful Karma, but it will still be able to kind of put Tenuan on rails and maybe hide a little bit of that weakness there. Whereas on the other side, Smolder, I mean, we've seen this do horrible, disgusting things in the LPL.
Literally just the last series, literally just yesterday, the likes of Elk in particular doing unspeakable things, Arn as well with the giga-fed early Smolder. It's going to go over to 1XN, a player who is exceptional when he is allowed to get those resources, turn up the team fights, and just use his hands in exciting ways. Debating here, a Maokai, of course, another one of those champions that is exceptionally busted. I believe Freak just hit Grandmaster playing the champion, to which he tweeted out, Maokai but nerfs have been cancelled, with a screenshot of him hitting Grandmaster. So, unfortunately, the head of the league team throwing some memes out. They clearly know the champion's very strong and needs to get turfed over.
Beitran, one of his best champions, one of his most played champions, has been this Maokai. It can, of course, go towards that support role, but I don't think Chocho has actually played this pick just yet. Now, if you do lock in Ezreal for LWX, that does mean you can still hold over the flex of the Karma between mid and support. I don't know if I love this, because you've passed over something like a Senna, which can sometimes scale up alongside the Smolder, but Senna's not been that successful. I'm not saying, I have to say I'm not displeased to see someone try a different answer towards that Smolder, because no one's really found a great answer to it yet.
And it is worth pointing out as well, this can all still be flexed. We've seen some Ezreal support. Carrier did insane things on that a week or two ago. You can throw the Ezreal mid lane, though that's been less effective, even if it was tried for a couple weeks over in a couple regions. The Karma can go support, it can go mid, so still some ability for RNG to move things around despite nominal champion placements. The response here over on the other side is UCal going towards the Hui, who has looked good on the champion, even if UCal on the whole hasn't been as consistent as he was last year, I think it's fair to say. His summer in particular was really, really good from him. He's just not been hitting those highs so far in this split.
Yeah, both Spring and Summer fantastic from this player in the mid lane. This will only be his third Hui game, but it feels like as a mage player, this is one of the best mage champions to play. Also kind of counters other mages too. So the question is, do you want to be playing something like that Karma into the Hui? It kind of nullifies that laning phase, but the problem is after that point, you have the damage scaling on the Hui, and then you have the utility scaling from the Karma on the other side as well, even though Karma does do a significant amount of damage. So you're kind of trading off scaling for scaling. Kind of reminds me of the Cassante Aatrox kind of trade, where it's like neither of them realistically beat the other one, but they add different things to their team, so you're trying to like outvalue the other one by kind of choosing your style of gameplay. Now you see some support bans coming through, and of course Tenuan's ever-present Akali taken away too.
Do not give that man that champion. He is very, very good at it. And Tenuan is a player who is quite exciting, but caught on a roster that is struggling to connect in general. You know, you've got players like Breathe, Wei, LWX. Like, there's so much like legendary pedigree on the roster, frankly. Some of these guys are legends of the LPL, and it's a little bit sad in some ways to see them really struggling to find an identity, find consistent form. Final ban here will be the Viego away from Beitran, and that makes sense. He's very strong on the champion. What are they picking up here? Is it going to be the jungle option? You feel like a Poppy would be an interesting choice, but we'll wait and see, because they are hovering some fun things right now, but I doubt they get locked in.
What you're looking for is a frontline option, and as we saw from the last series from EDG playing, Poppy can be played as a top laner and be quite tanky. It also stops you from going something like a Cassante quite as easily. It means that Breathe might have to sit here and go, well, what can I do in regards to kind of frontline options? Something like the Aatrox, quite a fun matchup into the Poppy actually. Of course, if you misuse your E, it's go quite badly wrong. Breathe, what are you going to go towards here? Look at he's holding onto his pick. a little bit longer still. We have ourselves the Karma support, so it is Ezreal Karma. Aatrox is finally locked in. It means that we have the Ezreal Karma trying to have early lane presence against the Smolder and the Maokai.
You see how that works. Xin Zhao and Taliyah very good at diving and roaming. You bring those guys bot with the shove you're hoping to get with the Ezreal and the Karma. And you make it work. TF, a champion that has been incredibly potent, particularly the AD variant, is locked in.
Yeah, and what this means is that Beatron will be taking the Poppy into the jungle. It has been flexed. TF top into the Aatrox, and Aatrox struggles with that a little bit. And that means that with that, you can also match Global of the Taliyah for Global of Twisted Fate as well. Feels like Twisted Fate can help you kind of blow up in this game in one way or another. I do feel, though, like with the Ezreal Karma and the Xin Zhao, bot side 3v3, potentially very strong, though, from the side of RNG, which is important because we know that that bot lane has been struggling. We know that 1xN on the Smolder, he's a very talented AD carry with maybe the strongest AD carry on the patch. That's a danger sign for them. They need to shut that down.
I think it's also worth noting that the RNG, the onus on them is to make sure that their early pressure works out. You should have bot lane pressure. You should have the ability to get this Taliyah and this Xin Zhao to get dives, because that doesn't happen in Smolder scaling for free. You start hitting these level 6s in particular, and Smolder flaps away, and Maokai presses R, and TF turns up with his ultimate, and Poppy presses W. Suddenly, your access to this Smolder as the game goes on gets increasingly limited. You need this early game to work out if you're an RNG fan.
Yeah, you do. It really does kind of feel like they've given up some scaling options to try and shut down the early and the mid game. And as we kind of said in the draft just before this, I don't mind the fact that we're seeing a different potential answer to the Smolder. The Senna hasn't worked. I'm ready to call that quits and just say, don't lock in the Senna when Smolder's available. It just hasn't worked out. We haven't seen the Senna being able to snowball side lanes with global ultimates. We haven't seen her be able to outscale in team fights. Ezreal Karma, can they keep the Maokai Smolder down? Arguably two best champions in role right now for the side of TT's bot lane.
If both of them hit level 6 for free, if both of them are, particularly the Smolder of course, because Maokai doesn't stack, so just the Smolder hits those stacks for free. We've seen what happens. We've had multiple series over the last couple of days showing exactly what happens. There was a little tweet out from Kelsey earlier on saying, depending on whether you watch more LCK or LPL, you'll be debating which one's stronger, Senna or Smolder, because I think the results have been a little bit inverted. But here in the LPL, Smolder has been king. These bot laners have been doing unspeakable things with him. RNG with the early level 1 invade, and I think they've been unspotted doing it.
No, Yukal spotted them. Yukal's seeing him, he's going to walk back. Very easy for him to do that. And so he walks up, takes a little bit of damage, completely fine for him though. He can turn around and get a mana flow ban stack as well if he really wants to. In fact, he chooses not to. So that one will be completely spotted out by TT. They will know that likely there's a ward somewhere in their jungle, but where is that ward? It's either on the blue buff or whether it's on somewhere else. Spotted multiple times, in fact. And also, with the 4W coming through, that's 4 stacks from him already. Started with W level 1 with the Doran's Ring. This is what you do on Smolder when you feel like you are going to lose lane at level 1, but it still gives you access to farm. It means that you're less easy, and it's less easy for you to trade very hard. But what you can do is, of course, just look for the wave and force that level 2 much easier with the wave clear that you have early.
Ming still holding on to that Mantra Q, the Soul Flare, to really hit multiple people. You want to try and hit both if you can. It's Jojo that ends up tanking that one. And the wave control, understandably, goes the way of Ezreal Karma, who have been one of the most lane-dominant bot lane pairings pretty much since both champions have been in the game.
Okay, so Beatron's got a bit of an interesting path going on here. He's taken Raptor's going blue. Is he going to get level 3? Well, of course, how I like to call it, full build Poppy. You get towards level 3 and you've got your full basic kit and you do unspeakable things to the map. See much less Poppy jungle in 2024 compared to 2023, but he's going to hit level 3 off of this Gromp, I think, between Raptor's blue buff and Gromp. Can he do something bot lane to potentially third party this 2v2 dominance from LWX and Ming that they've picked this champion duo for?
A world, I suppose, where it could just be the reverse clear to try and manage what's going on, but it will be Wei going on in, looking for that invade, and there he goes back towards the Wolves. This sets up for a dive bot side, though. TT leaving this Smolder and Maokai out to dry briefly. The Wei is actually deciding against the dive and instead towards invading on these Wolves.
Now you can use a W, maybe kill the mini Wolves. Doesn't get that smite away from Beatron, so Beatron gets most of his camps away. And you're right, it is much more about that reverse clear and says, look, you'll be able to survive on the bot lane turret. And 1xN and Chocho, they have like the saplings and they have the W of the Doran's Ring to get access to the minions. Maokai actually can help you kill out those minions and get some extra XP. at the right kind of point. So Beitron not going to be denied anything early. In fact, one of the things we talked about in the first series of the day is, okay, what do you do when you're denied a quadrant of your jungle? It removes a lot of your options. How do you recover from that? Beitron makes sure that problem doesn't arise in the first clear. Despite the fact that he has losing mid and bot lane, he manages to go with a lot of farm, so well played from him.
Indeed it does. Towards the top side, though, because of the way things have been playing out in the early look-in from the Xin Zhao, Hoya's had free reign to shove Aatrox in, and Breathe doesn't really have much room to level up to his namesake right now.
Chocho going to take some big damage. LWX goes forwards with the full combo from Ezreal. Of course, Ezreal in a very strong state right now after his buffs. He's gone press the attack as well for really big early burst. It's not like you're going to be able to get continual poke to get the Conqueror up as you do in other lanes. It is much more about as much... Oh, he gets double W there. 1x7 doing quite well to at least get some extra stacks from hitting some enemy champions. Can't farm quite as easily though as the Ezreal.
Yeah, and especially because the Maokai's not really getting the opportunity to walk up and auto minion summit once it gets under tower. Securing the last hit, not necessarily that easy, because you walk too far forward, you get hit by multiple Qs, and you lose all your HP bar. He's kind of down that wave or so right now, and of course, because the Maokai had to back away, 1xN is really struggling to get access to the minions in the way they would like.
Gonna get that one cannon minion under the turret though, courtesy of support item from Chocho. As we come back out onto the map, plate's taken by bot lane, but given that Twisted Fate, Yasuo just kind of print money with his passive and also his a little bit of a laning advantage. It feels like the early lane status of things will be fairly even as far as it goes.
Exactly that. Of course, you have drafted something to try and manage this Smolder lane. So far, so good. They've not pulled off a dive, but they've gotten the significant CS advantage. They'll get to back and get some solid items to their name. There's a tier. Is it a Sheen as well? No, it's just double longsword, but still a fairly okay back there for LWX on first blush.
First blush?
That's a fairly standard phrase.
Oh, from card games. Yeah, I get it now.
I mean, that too. It's just that.
I didn't realize. First blush. I've never heard that in a league term before. In a league term, I've never heard that before.
It's just a first look.
Yeah, first blush. For me, I've heard that in regards to like some card games. I've never heard that. That's today I've.
Oh, you just ghosted.
Yes, he did. Huh.
I wonder whether he's afraid of getting all in or something.
I actually was too busy thinking about, I don't know, card game terms and being applied to League from the other way. Way is actually going to be spotted on the spot side here. Chocho has Ignite. He can kill.
Oh boy,
he's popped the Ignite early.
He's going to try and get some damage back. He's going to be able to flash over the wall and does so.
That's important. That you see that the ult was pulled out from Hoya just to... It's going back to lane, but you can kind of see that maybe they were scared of him coming back from base and starting a fight out bot side, because the RNG don't have vision into the enemy jungle. Definitely not far enough to spot if Hoya was doing something cheeky towards the bot side of the map. With the jungler now losing that summoner though, that's kind of important.
Oh, Hoya pull back. Now it's actually managed to play it out. I wondered whether that Infernal Chain would actually land because of the early play, but actually he's already got the Berserk Greaves, so the tier 2 movement allows him to escape what could have been a very dicey situation.
I think it's one of these early game things you have to kind of factor in regards to how early do you get those early tier 2 boots. It changed the way that so many trades work. Talked about it last game in regards to how it changed the way that Ari looks at charms. Chocho going forwards.
Ming flashes away himself, will get the W down, will not get too much more, but that is an important summoner blown. Of course, Maokai with the Hex Flash, a little bit less vulnerable in some ways than Akama. It's always been the case with this duo. If they lose their summoners, they become so much more fragile.
I mean, you can't Hex Flash backwards is the thing. So you're still fragile, but you still have the aggressive plays. You can control bushes. Karma can't do any of those things, though, really. And plus, really isn't necessarily about going flashing forward for anything on Karma in the first place. So it's kind of like a swing and a miss in terms of getting the kill. But yes, maybe this does buy a little bit more space for that Smolder and that Maokai to get up to relevance. As soon as that Maokai ultimate comes through, effectively he's online. Smolder, that Maokai ultimate, very, very powerful. And we've already talked about LPL Smolder and how it just scales up into infinity. How much can RNG get before those two things happen? That's been the story of the game. The 3v3 has not been clean, but it has done a fair amount so far.
The other issue here is Hoya flash for the Q3 and will flash and trade the other direction. Flash to flash, Beitron is around, and Hoya will get out to safety.
Flash away from the Twisted Fate and Breathe. One of the real good performing members on RNG. Him and Wei. Wei now trying to find something on the bot side of the map. Going in with a Q, forcing off the bot lane away from tower. Here comes Tanyuan.
Gets away for now. The seismic shove goes wide. And 1xN and Chocho have been under a lot of pressure early. It's what RNG drafted for. But on the other side, Beitron, where's he been on the Poppy? Full build a little while ago. Not really managed to make the Poppy work as yet.
Yeah, the full build, level 6 pop, level 3 Poppy. He's beyond late game now. He's level 6.
Oh, man.
But what do you do when you have 3 losing lanes? Yukal is, of course, going to be second to the roam on someone like compared to the Talia. Breathe just forced flash topside and has a 10 CS advantage in what was effectively a counter matchup. Well, it was a counter matchup for Hoya. Bot lane you expected to lose, but now they're losing an insane amount of CS as well. It's actually working out quite well for them. What do you do as a jungler who's meant to be active early, but has no platform to be active on? I'm not going to blame Beitron for this. I'm going to blame the fact that they're losing all their lanes.
Exactly. That's a fair summary of events, right? But the coverage hasn't really been there. But on the other hand, you've got to get to some of these farms, some of these camps, and Wei, Tangyuan have been faster to these realms, have made more happen, and 1xN and Jojo haven't died. That's great news. They've managed to survive what's been quite oppressive looks in from multiple members, but it has cost them multiple plates, multiple waves. This Smolder has been put down.
And on the other side of the map, because Breathe has gone for the Comet and gone for the Scorch as well, means that if you just tap with one of those Qs, you get a good amount of laning damage. Hoya, yes, will be able to step out a couple of them with Berserker Greaves and the ability to just kind of keep railing through those auto attacks and rattling through them. Breathe, though, he's been doing really well in the short trades, has Comet up again, and he's really starting to take this matchup to Hoya, who's not getting that much value out of the Twisted Fate.
Not currently, but of course is doing kind of fine. We'll have a wave to clear up, and of course did get that back in because of the all-in, so has got the additional items right now. Q misses, but the Infernal Chains land. That's the ultimate from Breathe, but the Ghost afterwards means that actually now Breathe is actually in a spot of bother, needs to be a bit afraid. Red card comes on through, and the trade is Ghost for ultimate.
But I think you take that as Breathe. Your ultimate's going to be up way sooner than the Ghost, and if someone like Wei can come topside now, no Flash, no Ghost, very easy to look at this half-health Twisted Fate. And guess where Wei is? He is on the top side of the map, currently taking those grubs, and we'll be splitting that 3 apiece, no full house. If you can get at least one of them, it would be very important. He smites it away.
Over they come, no ultimate for the Aatrox, but Hoya actually back in base, does have the Destiny Gate, but Thundertalk decide, yeah, this is perhaps not our fight to take as yet.
Beitron just around the corner. He'd love to get involved in the game. He's not really had any openings to do so. Tangyuan maybe getting wall stun, but I really think that Beitron would be very bold to go towards that. No damage really nearby, despite the follow-up range of the Hui. Yukao stays in mid lane, gets himself 2 plates from this. Nice. That's kind of the recompense for Tangyuan going towards bot side a little earlier and looking for that play down there. Hasn't really led to too much. Of course, they managed to zone off farm from 1xN, but now with the plates going the other way, you see that actually gold very even.
Is indeed that, and of course it's where the gold is that matters more than anything else. It's very much in the bot lane compared to perhaps a little bit more towards the mid lane on the other side. Solid performance from Breathe right now, and it is a modest gold lead for RNG. And by modest, I mean about 300 gold, so not huge amounts to write home about.
Modest, yeah, exactly. It is exactly how you described it. W tagged onto 1xN, but luckily the ult does not connect for him. The thing about Ezreal Karma lanes is that whenever you take poke, it sticks really quite hard. In fact, 1xN, he's had to level up the W probably into 2 points now. That's what you do when you're losing lanes. Just so you have a bit more wave clear, and maybe you can finish off with a W than a Q afterwards. Beitron is topside. He can flash over the wall potentially. Breathe doesn't have flash, but now has his ult back up.
Holding on to his flash a little bit here as well. Got the gold card. There's the buckler afterwards. Nice shove away. Breathe doesn't have flash yet, so will likely fall here. Gold card lands. Yes, there's a Merc Dread, but a phenomenal steadfast presence means nowhere for this Aatrox to go. Kill donated to the Twisted Fate, but it does once again leave the bot lane of Thundertalk Gaming out to dry a bit as they are forced off the wave once more.
Yeah, this Ezreal Karma has been used to shut down the Smolder Maokai, and this is something that we've asked from the LPL. We said, hey, how do you deal with this combo? How are we going to stop this this champion scaling up to infinity? The answer largely has been, you can't. Now, if you can do this something like the Ezreal Karma, that's important. The thing is, TT are still ahead in gold, and it will have to be RNG really accelerating into the mid game. They don't scale fantastically well. Someone like this, Aatrox has a great job in this game of kind of like assassinating the backline, and there's no one that you can't assassinate in this game, in fairness. Even someone like the Poppy going tank in the jungle won't necessarily be able to outlast someone like a Profane Hydra Spike Aatrox, so I think Breathe potentially in a position to just kind of put this game to rest. But you still have to worry about the Hui and the Smolder being 2 of the better scaling carries on the patch.
Yeah, that's kind of the kicker, isn't it? And of course, you know, 1xN, Jojo, they've had a rough laning phase, yes, but they've still managed to get a hold of a fair amount of farm. They've still managed not to die. They've locked the bot lane turret, and that does suck. An interrupt there on the back from the True Shot Barrage. But at some point, you know, you can throw the Smolder mid lane, you can feel okay about that, and you should still be able to get access to stacks, even if it's not at the rate you were hoping for.
And again, it's more about kind of how quickly can you accelerate, and if it's not at the rate you hope for, particularly against a mid-game spiking team, you're kind of going to have to sit there and hope that you survive, which is sometimes easier said than done. Yucal, what can he do? He's not really managed to get involved in the game so far. It's not really been his place to. He's on the more static mage. He's looking for the grouped up fights a little later. It's not really been about him. He's waiting to see how far behind his team is before he can really start to influence things a little more.
I wonder as well whether eventually Yucal ends up in that top lane. They throw the Twisted Fate down towards the bot lane. He might be a little bit more survivable with the Ghost, the tier 2 boots, of course, with the fact he clears waves so fast with the Static Shiv now. Should be able to get a little bit more freedom to play out the map a little bit more aggressively as the game goes on. Smolder, though, has rotated towards the mid lane, in surprise to no one. Shorter lane, a little bit safer, has a turret still. Access to multiple parts of the map.
Now, we have to see, though, what is going to happen with these lane assignments. You can't exactly have 2 carries in one lane. It's very important to make sure that's around. But, of course, when you've got the Herald up here, it's not necessarily about that. It's more about having presence on the top side of the map, make sure that RNG can't get that power play unlocked for them. RNG, they aren't, you know, they're not actually ahead in gold. We've mentioned that before. And we said that it's a modest gold lead for TT. It's just the fact that you've got a much better spike right now in LWX than you do on 1XM. Breathe is going to start up the Herald. He's very strong in his own right, despite the fact that he hasn't got himself the Profane Hydra. That'll be a huge spike when he finally gets that one. CC combo lands on LWX, though, and with that chunk down, maybe that gives some breathing room for TT to do something on the top side.
Maybe look for something more. Severing Bolt this time goes wide. They throw down the mirror to make some work happens as the Keeper's Verdict comes on down. They get so much damage back because it's just a 1vX. Breathe dies.
Yeah, exactly. That pop heal, that's huge. That's the most hype thing we've seen in this game so far. As Beitran is half HP, but with the Breathe dead, what can you do as RNG?
Backs away into the bush with no vision, so can't forget the gold card throw down. Hoya with the Ghost running, gets the fleet footwork, the fancy footwork rather, and they can move away again.
Beitran, big moves from the Poppy, has struggled to be involved in this early game, gets a kill in. Don't think TT can consolidate that into a Herald, but they're going to waste a lot of time from RNG, and a kill over the Yucal is very important there too, because again, he is another scaling carry. He's about to get himself his own Seraphs in his own right, so TT, I think they walk away with probably more than they expected from that scenario. Going into the replay of this too, just Beitran throwing the ults in them. RNG, they don't get a chance to cancel out the Poppy ultimate. I don't think they really decide who's going to tank it, so it means that everyone stacks.
Goodbye.
You get 2 people out there, isolates Breathe. If it's only one person, maybe you can stomach it. It's not even like LWX and Ming are here. Actually, what are they doing? They're not even there for that fight when they're meant to be in a point of power. RNG, just not in the right position.
And it gives a little bit more gold over to Thunder Talk. And again, if you're wondering why the gold is actually towards their favor, they've got the 2 kills. They've also got the stacked deck on the Twisted Fate, which always inflates gold. Always, always, always. And Hoya having the early kill, the early assist. The Seraph's now completed on Yucal. And looking at this game as well, this is not a game where the Hui's going to fall off in terms of ability to delete people. That's a lot of squishy members. Even the Aatrox isn't going to be the happiest taking a late game Hui combo.
We've sometimes seen Hui fall off against hypertanks, but as you rightly said, there's no one who's really going to be that. Everyone's squishy. 1XN feels like he can now be shielded a lot easier on the mid part of the map because now he's in mid lane. It feels like people can respond and be around his lane a little bit more, and particularly if Yucal somewhere in the midst of this gets some good poke down, that can stop LWX looking for quite as aggressive jumps forwards, and you can see right there actually jumps into 1XN to get the most damage, gets traded back on. Herald going to charge into the mid lane, it won't kill the turret, whereas in top side Tanuen will.
That is exactly it, and RNG still managed to play the map pretty well, but now looking perhaps for a little bit more as Wei goes in with the Audacious Charge and decides against it pretty swiftly. Tower stands, and Thunder Talk hold on well enough here. 1XN only at just over 100 stacks though, so this Smolder, pressure has done pretty well at keeping him away from some of those stacks. We've seen Smolders hit 225 just after 20 minutes. I don't think that's a likely prospect right now for the Smolder unless things change.
Hoya going to be shuffling a wave into the bot lane out of turret, but not going to be able to hit the tower with it. He's going to recall, probably get himself towards his second item, which is likely to be something like that Storm Rays that'll help kite out that Aatrox should he start running at him all the same. And we have a return to this mid lane. Ezreal Karma, they're not at their 2-item spike just yet for the Ezreal, which is one of the stronger points. You see that LWX already getting a lot of damage. They're really wanting to take this mid lane out of turret. Remove another safe place for this Smolder to stack. There goes the Talia ult. Of course, the Flap can take you over terrain. And with the threat of being isolated from the rest of their team, they take the turret.
That's all the outer turrets now down on Thunder Talk side. They've yet to be able to return the favor, and that makes things like keeping Smolder, keeping Yukal on the way safe a lot harder. Suddenly this Taliyah and Xin Zhao can begin to really flex their ability to get around the map and dive more aggressively.
And the more they get to do that, of course, the more it puts TT's carries behind, and they have much less tools to deal with that too. You have Hoya with the Destiny, that's kind of it. And of course, the Markout can respond from far away. Breathe. He has Profane Hydra now. He has a very strong point of power. Misses Q1, misses Q2.
Flash for Q3 and just gets it.
That's Profane Hydra. Misses the sweet spot on both of those Qs and still gets the kill. Hoya, too disrespectful with that flash, and Breathe cleans up a kill.
I would think he was waiting for the gold card to come on through. Didn't quite manage to get it, so doesn't survive, dies, and that's a big kill for Breathe, who's been the one part of the map that has been attacked a little bit more on RNG's side, and getting that kill, using that spike, feels pretty good there.
He's at 1 and 2, particularly with that first gank topside, and then the kill onto him around the Herald as well. He might have overstayed. Of course, you still have the TF ult if that comes through as well.
Can do indeed, looking to get the phase rush to get the heroic charge with wall breathe. Not quite wall stunned, but will still be twisted advanced onto. We'll try and get some more damage back, but it's just not enough. The fear is through. Yukal picks up the kill.
Hoya's ulting topside, potentially looking to force Tinyman under tower.
Forced to flash over the wall. Wei is finally here, but Hoya gets a fair amount of value. Does burn the ghost himself. Can gold card back onto the Xin Zhao, and Hoya gets more value there. It also means knowing where the jungle and mid laner is. It's free time for Yukal to get a tower finally for Thundertalk on the other side of the map.
It's cross map after cross map in this one. Seems to be the name of the game. Yukal going to break open the bot lane outer turrets. That's going to be an important moment for them. It's their first turret of the game to maybe buy them some territory and space. Breathe, as we said, misses 2 of the first Qs. Doesn't matter. Hoya doesn't flash the Q3. Breathe cleans it up. Profane Hydra, very nasty item. So many stats in the active, giving the extra damage on targets below 50% HP. Really just shreds through the 0 armor Twisted Fate.
Indeed does fall down. Storm Razor now in for Hoya though, who is still having a pretty solid game on the Twisted Fate. Can still be a real threat here, and maybe continue to be a bit of a pressure point onto particularly Taliyah, who really hates people who can threaten her from the range she likes to be playing in.
Yeah, it doesn't have the fire cannon yet, so not really at the point where he's super threatening the Taliyah, so safe for now. Tanyuan picking up a little bit of gold. You've got the Seraphs almost completed for Tanyuan, the Muramana almost completed for LWX. On the other side, it has been Yukal who's picked that one up. He's not really been able to control the flow of the game massively, but it has been enough. Well, WX, though, he is almost at that huge point in power, which we know all Ezreals have had for the entirety of his existence. 2-item Ezreal now on the board.
Muramana transformation in as well. I am complete, says Ezreal somewhere out there. And Jack Black and Cage start screaming in despair.
You know, I want there to be like a Tenacious G skin line with Jax and Gragas. I think that'd be so funny. I think that'd be great. You can have Jax Black and then Kyle Gragas.
Yeah, what a great duo that would be.
Fantastic. It would be, well, it wouldn't be the greatest duo in the world.
And then you just have little Devil Teemo on the other side.
No. It wouldn't be the greatest duo in the world. It would just be a tribute.
Yeah. Who is the greatest duo in the world?
Well, we don't know. It's a tribute to them. We'll find out. You should listen to the song. It's great.
You should have believed me. It's just a matter of opinion, man.
See, the problem is, Sam, I feel like the level 1 of that reference, everyone will likely get to some degree because it was fantastic in the early 2000s. I
wish you were there so you could understand.
If you're going towards the lyrics of Tribute, which is slightly more niche, that's a little bit harder to sell.
I'm not here to sell it. I'm here to have fun, Alex. Come on now.
We're certainly trying.
And the whip crank went the whoopie tail of Alex getting me back in line.
If you ever hear something weird at this point, it's just Sam trying to reference Tenacious D lyrics. There we go.
Well, mate,
anyway, back out onto the map. Dragon spawning in 10 seconds. It would be sole point for RNG on the Cloud map. You can see Hoya pops himself the ult just to see if there was another couple of members heading towards him. No longer going to be available for the fight. Gates just running off. Tier 2 ultimate being used to just roam over towards the Dragon.
And be this angel. No, it's Tang Yuan. As they head over towards the Dragon fight that Thundertalk are currently in position for. Big true shot barrage though. Comes across multiple people. Secured now. Big disengage. So the teleports come on through, but RNG don't really have to realistically have a way of contesting, and Smolder damage is still pretty good.
So what happened there was TT stopped RNG from getting into the river, and they used the little Eye of Sauron on the ground from Yukal to the Gazing Abyss to stop them from getting through the choke point. Leads through to Poke, leads through to, even though the True Shot Barrage felt like it was going to be the determining factor of Poke beforehand, it wasn't the case. TT walk away with the Dragon, they walk away flexing the muscles a little bit.
Exactly that, and Thundertalk, for all that we've had our criticisms, wait, never mind that, Breathe looks for the all-in onto Chocho. will throw down the ultimate, and then instead heroic charged away, so the ultimate down for little gain. 1xN clears out the wave, sneezes on Ezreal, who takes a bit of a chunk, and Smolder's got 2 items. Smolder's kind of back in this game.
Yeah, and he really does feel like the champion pick of Destiny right now. As he is the champion who's just ruling over the entirety of this region. TT?
No!
I thought that was pretty good. We're getting ourselves to the point now where TT are going to have a lot of combat stats. Thing is, no one's really tanky in this game. It feels like one person out of position could be the start of the end of all things in this game. Lots of people being able to make that happen. Hoya, next time he has ult, he has flash. He'll probably have his fire cannon by the time that comes in as well. But RNG, they're the ones currently onto the Baron. They want to force TT into Fog of War and into making a mistake.
Towards the Baron we go. It's being started by RNG and pulled off from swiftly as Thundertalk were quick enough to wander in and force. The ward goes in. They have an idea it's been stopped and they pull back away again.
TT, they're kind of struggling with their vision in terms of defensive vision. They don't really have anything to scout out where the members of RNG are walking across the map. They're managing to get some farm, and you can see that 1xN, he must be very close now to... I can't actually remember... I can't remember if we talked about it already. I've not talked about the stacks, haven't really gotten eyes on them. Getting closer, you have to imagine, even with the early shutdown, that 225 stacks.
I mean, it'll be pretty mind-blowing. You know, he is on the edge of becoming the Master Exploder. That's Smolder. Very close to critical mass. I don't know what you're laughing about.
Because I'm laughing at the death and destruction. Yeah, we'll workshop it. Either way, 1xN. Once he gets towards that third item as well, the rapid fire cannon. Once you get double rapid fire cannon from Hoya and 1xN, have to see whether RNG is kind of their team fight spacing has adapted with those 2 items coming through. The threat range increases an absolutely huge amount when there's 2 items in.
And what it also does is between Twisted Fate and Maokai's ability to single target out, root them down, Hui has the easiest time in the world, especially with a couple kills and the Crypt Bloom and nearly towards what will likely be a Liandry's. That mask been sat on for a little while was picked up second, but then the Crypt Bloom completed in place of it. The moment you lock someone up, they get hit from a lot of damage from Yukal. Smolder gets free time to fire.
Big thing here, Breathe has no teleport. Hoya's just recalled, has almost that tier 3 ultimate. If a fight were to happen on top side, TT would have the numbers advantage, and it feels like they already get to the point where they're even in gold at 25 minutes with an outscaling comp. This is now danger mode for RNG. You need to be very careful about how they play the map. In the next minute, yes, Breathe will have the teleport back up, and you can see what happens. But as we saw there, 1xN has himself that breakpoint reached, and Tanyaman lucky to get out on his top side. Hoya, not a great ultimate there, actually. That was an important one to waste.
It is, but it will come in trade for the Weaver's Wall, so it's kind of pseudo-global for pseudo-global. So it's not come entirely for free, and you appreciate the idea of it, but it has left Breathe with free time on this bot lane. I believe it'll be Yukal to deal with him because he's the one with the teleport available.
Make a lot of sense. Hoya, again, doesn't have his tier 3 ultimate yet. That's a big moment. It increases the range.
Hoya.
He's caught out. Hoya's had a bit of a nightmare of a game. He's going to get himself fleet and he gets himself ghost, but he's going to get shut down here almost certainly in the top side.
Good side step.
Luckily, gets out just about.
And honestly, part of that is Chocho just left. He just recalled, was body blocking for, was kind of warding for him, and the moment he leaves, they walk into the bush, and they just no idea. Unfortunate timing.
Hoya, again, last pick Twisted Fate. Oh, dude, he's even getting potentially caught out again, playing with life on his line there. Teleport in with the flank. This is a flanking Hui.
Oh, it comes on in, the gaze of the abyss, makes people feel very afraid indeed. Into the backline goes Chocho on the Maokai. Huge damage, 1xN gets to fly on forwards, the Executor there, and once again, the Dragon gets stacks, baby.
Well, I don't think this one's a spin-off game, but it's still the House of the Dragon in this one. Thundertalk Gaming bring the fire, and even though RNG are going to be able to push in mid and bot lane, this composition needed to be ahead. This composition needed to shut down the carries of the enemy team, and they have now failed to do so. Yes, they'll crack the mid lane inhibitor turret, but with Baron down, TT have blown this game wide open and feels like they can claim a lot of standing gold on the map.
Load of kills, Baron comes at the cost of an inhibitor turret, but not the inhibitor. Let's see the replay.
So, a big part of this is that Hui isn't actually caught on top side. I've kind of been calling him out saying, look, he's been putting himself in dangerous positions. The fact that he survives changes an awful lot. Then Shoujo gets a magnificent broadside ultimate right through the rest of the team as they're retreating. Sets up everything for success. 2 members of RNG were not prepared for this fight. And now, at least you have Soul Point claim for RNG, the third one stacked up. But TT with the Baron power play feels like they can push in across the map and finally get some vision across the river like they've wanted to do for most of this game.
UCAL once again stops off from completing something like a Leandro who just goes, I'm getting 2 NLRs. I've got so much gold. I'm doing so much burst. I want the ability to really hurt whoever gets caught with the CC.
And Wonder Drake, what are the secrets of your power? This dragon has been doing so much work. I think the secret's actually lying. The stacks is not even too secret at that point. 1xN, 3 items, rapid fire cannon. He's finally completed it after Hoya had completed his one just before that. And now, again, we have to see, can RNG start to adapt to that? Even Beitron getting to the point where he's getting it to be a bit of an issue. 2 levels up on Wei. After the start he had, credit to Beitron, he's not fallen out of the game. He's been very important in the way that TT have played things out.
1xN ends up flapping into a mine there. Briefly Beitron over the wall, gets a big stun off. That will be Wei forced to use the Crescent Guard himself.
So it's a flash forward from Beitron, not running the Hex Flash. That's an important tool down. They're looking for a big power play. You get 1 kill with that Baron buff still active, and it feels like the base will fall apart. You still have Smolder ult, they still have Wei ult, there's no Crescent Guard. They could just throw everything here. There's the Maokai.
And in comes Smolder, summoning once again that Eagle Strike. You know the D-pad controls at this point, guys. I know you do. And we'll move back instead over towards... I know.
The thing which I'm most proud of in Helldivers is being able to call in a reinforcement in under 1 second while I'm on the run.
That's very good.
It's like doing the little claw grip thing. It's not quite that where I just like move my right hand off of that side of the controller and just like slam it in. I'm never good at Dance Dance Revolution. Can definitely put in some of those Konami codes though.
Yeah, the Konami code playing very strong. I think the code this game around is just hacks because Smolder... This dragon can do whatever the hell he likes.
And, you know, we've talked about the rapid fire cannon spikes. Let's talk about UCAL and how he had a fantastic 2023, has not been able to replicate that in 24 so far. Deathcap, Seraphs, Crypt Bloom with a mask stacking, a mask stacked up as well. UCAL can pop some heads at 4, 0, and 1.
I can assure you people cared about who he was long before he put on that mask on this champion. He's been doing exceptionally well. And RNG, despite solid early game planning, the mid-game kind of just let Thunder Talk hit critical mass, and that mass is looking like it's about to explode.
It really does feel like, you know, we've talked a lot about these big carries from TT. Where has LWX been? He has himself the Lord Dominates Regards and the Shojin. This is the correct Ezreal build for the record, folks. The Sereldas is not a good item on Ezreal anymore, but he's at 0, 0, and 0. RNG have 1 kill, and that was a solo kill from Breed. This is the only kill which they've had. RNG, they picked an early game scaling composition to shut down some of the scaling carries on TT. It has not worked. And once again, you look at particularly Breathe, but also Weigh It to some degree as well, and you just think, well, feels like they've not really had much help from the rest of their teammates.
Yeah, you have to agree, and bluntly, you've drafted Xin Sao Talia. The point was to attack that bot lane even more aggressively than they did, and they did. They got the tower, they got the gold lead, but then it kind of stopped there. There wasn't any really aggressive plays onto the Smolder to kill him. There wasn't really any aggressive plays with the fact you got all 3 outer turrets to really siphon off areas of the map and do work with it. Try and play for some of these more aggressive plays. The one time they did, they went for Hoya, who just sidestepped every ability and got away with it.
And now Hoya, well on his way to his 4th item, which would be the Terminus. I kept calling it Perplexity because that was the weird item they added into Arena, and I played far too much of that last year.
Didn't you hit like top 50, top 10?
In PBE, yeah. On live, I kind of went on holiday, and then I didn't get to play too much over the holiday, so I didn't quite hit the top 100 there, which is really going to annoy me, actually. I've hit top 100 in every other arena. Right now, into the arena of top lane goes Breathe again, trying to swing around his weight a little bit. But while that's happening, they've left open the mid lane in a turret, and it feels like RNG, they are not looking to give a pitched battle. They're trying to get some value elsewhere, but you are delaying the inevitable. What are you going to do when you finally have to match up against these carries? There's a dragon coming up in the next minute. RNG would be able to claim themselves Cloud Soul from that, but I don't think they're in any position to force that one, especially since they gave up all presence in the bot side of the map.
A breathe. I think I was going through with that, and I was going for a breath of like a breath of relief, a time chance to breathe. I just said breathe, and I was like, hang on, where am I going with this?
Wait, hang on. Let's just get back on track though. We have 20 seconds till Dragon. TT reset. They're a little bit late on the resets though, which means that RNG get access into River, but TT come back with some big item breakpoints. Bloodthirster for 1xN, and you've got the Terminus in for Hoya. How much damage can they do with it? RNG now leave River, push down mid lane, and say, all right, let's try not to give that battle again. You see, actually, the ultimate coming out from Smolder doesn't do that much.
Trying to clear the wave. That's just going to be the inhibitor god. They're giving it up.
TT, what are you doing here? The Twisted Fatal is going back into the base, so Hoya can start to wave clear. This will be a teleport coming back too, so TT afraid of a real backdoor attempt. TT going to get themselves only a third dragon for this. This is a big trade-up for RNG. Now, it would end up, of course, being pretty bad if they give over the soul later. Feels like, particularly with Twisted Fate, that Clan Soul can be very important for him once he gets that one. But RNG trying to play the Smoke and Mirrors to win out this late game.
And Yukal had his back interrupted, I think, by the Weaver's Wall, which is why he felt like he was forced to TP. It was really heads-up play from Tangyuan. And yes, they get the soul point, but it does come at the cost of the inhibitor that was exposed earlier.
This doesn't change the situation, though. RNG, they are fleeing the fight. They don't want to fight this composition right now. They're trying to play the Smoke and Mirrors. RNG are an organization which have made a history out of playing Smoke and Mirrors. As some of the most important international results for China internationally. They're onto the Baron TT. Can they interrupt this in time?
Which one has Flash? He has Keeper's Verdict. Hoya with the Ghost gets a stun immediately. In comes the Maokai ultimate. Nature's Grasp doing his work, and now the Baron is TT's to go through. They throw down the Keeper's Verdict, but do not hit anybody. Critical moment. Hoya stepping forwards with the red card. Pull back on the Chocho goes down. What about the Smoker ultimate that's back off cooldown? Ming down to 20% HP, and just look at the spiraling despair. The problem is, yes, you killed the support, but all the DPS is getting a free fire. Look at Breeze trying to recall, get reset back in Wei. Not quite the execute until just now, and Wei goes down. Jungler dead. Recall's coming on through his LWX, needs to run alongside Tangyuan, who gets out for now. Ming, though, left out to dry. Yukal flashes back. Beichuan over here, flash forward for the gold card. Ming goes down as well, and RNG are routed. They roll low.
RNG avoid the fight for as long as possible, but Thunder comes inevitably and lightning strikes into the base and into the hearts of RNG. The burn kills another as Thunder Talk Gaming hit hard. And they eventually just outscale Royal Never Give Up.
They are going to have to be a little bit afraid, because while their namesakes, they're never giving up, the chances of a solid result in this season are getting ever more fleeting. Thunder Talk are the ones with the first game win.
We have to keep returning to that. The loser of this series is probably going to be out of playoffs. This is the series where you're up against another, 2-win team. You cannot afford to lose a game like this. Now, TT, I think that they, by picking up the Smolder, really threw a lot of issues RNG's way. It felt like they tried to shut down the Smolder early. I don't think RNG were good enough at that. They ended up getting some CS leads, and they got that first bot lane tower, but they weren't good enough to capitalize on that. And now it feels like, really, RNG have to go back to the drawing board. Don't let that Smolder through again. You couldn't shut it down.
And they get all 3 out of turrets, they get huge CS lead bot, but the gold remains pretty much dead even, and actually punishing these extended lanes, actually getting kills on the board, just didn't happen. The dragon stacking didn't really happen in a reasonable time frame, and RNG, it felt like they had page 1, maybe page 2 of a playbook, but the additional kind of options afterwards weren't there. They didn't have what it took to finish up what was a fairly decent setup in the beginning of the game.
I think that Breathe still had a good game, and the more I look at this RNG roster, I feel just pretty awful for him. Some questions about what's happening with this bot lane again. I think that Wei has been fine, but not at the level he was last year. I think that Wei actually evolved from being the person who was led around by Xiaohu for so much of his career. He made himself into a leader in 2023. He's not really leading effectively right now. I think Tangyuan has struggled in his own right. He's had some okay Weaver's Walls in this game, but it did kind of feel as though he didn't manage to capitalize on that. But particularly, this bot lane is not getting involved in the game in the way that they need. And they've tried multiple different facets now. They've tried different identities, and none of them have really worked.
I do think, at least this game, I don't think it was like mechanical misplay that cost. I think the laning phase was really good from LWX and Ming. They played out that Ezreal combo